of the Committee on Finance of the Commission on Appointments in the second regular session of the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The honorable officers and members of the Committee on Finance.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson, Representative Virginel G. Biron, MD. Members, Representative Mercedes K. Alvarez, Senator Roland Bato de la Rosa, Senator Francis Chis G. Escudero, Senator Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada, Representative Albert S. Garcia, Christopher Bong Tigo,
Present.
Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator Loren Legarda, Representative Roy M. Loyola, Representative Oscar Oka G. Malapitan, Representative Lani Mercado Revilla, Senator Grace Poe, Representative Jordin Jesus M. Romualdo, Senator Rafi T. Tulfo, Senator Cynthia A. Villar, ex officio members, Vice Chairperson, Representative Ramon N. Guico Jr.,
Present.
Majority Floor Leader, Representative Luis Raymond L. Ray F. Villafuerte Jr., Assistant Majority Floor Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, Assistant Majority Floor Leader, Representative Rodante D. Marcoleta, Minority Floor Leader, Senator Alan Peter Compañero S. Cayetano, Assistant Minority Floor Leader, Representative Jose Gay G. Padiernos, Assistant Minority Floor Leader, Representative Johnny T. Pimentel. The committee chairperson is present.
Okay, with 11 members present in person, including the chair, and one member present online, the quorum is hereby declared. Under consideration of this committee is the ad interim appointment of Mr. Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary, Department of Finance. May we request the appointee to come forward and take his designated seat. May we now hear Secretary Villarica's report on the status of the jurisdictional requirements in compliance with the new rules of the Commission and the rules of the standing committees and the other relevant information about the appointee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, Your Honors. The Commission on Appointments received on January 15, 2024, the ad interim appointment of Mr. Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary, Department of Finance, and was referred by the Chairperson of the Commission, Juan Miguel Migs F. Zubiri, to the Committee on Finance for its appropriate action on January 15, 2024, pursuant to Section 16, Chapter 5 of the new rules of the Commission. Likewise, the said ad interim appointment was published in 2 newspapers of general circulation on January 18, 2024, the Manila Times and the Manila Standard, and broadcast over PTB4 station on January 17, 2024 at 7:38 p.m., pursuant to Section 2, Article 2 of the Rules of the Standing Committees. Secretary Recto has complied with the submission of the mandatory documentary requirements on February 29, 2024, as provided for in Section 24, Chapter 6 of the new rules of the Commission, and no sworn opposition was filed on the ad interim appointment of the appointee. That is all, Mr. Chairperson, Your Honors.
Madam Secretary, please administer the oath to Secretary Ralph Gonzalez Recto.
Secretary Recto, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Chairperson, the appointee is now under oath.
Mr. Recto, you may now proceed with your introductory statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Senator Ramon Revilla Jr., Vice Chairman Ramon Guico Jr., honorable members of the Commission from the bigger and brighter house, and from the smaller and smarter house. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. In taking this hot seat, I am now admiring the view from the opposite side of the firing squad. Although I had served in this bicameral body for 15 years, I think I spent the minutes allotted to me more in toasting than in roasting the nominees who had come before us. I mentioned my CA alumni credentials not to hint that you extend to me the same privilege, because I believe then and now that this constitutionally created body can only perform its mandate if it will be able to vet officials in a free, fair, and fearless manner. In appearing before the CA, which has been called the nation's most important HR panel for a job interview, a nominee is expected to lay out the case on why he should be hired. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, my job description is not just written in law, but dictated by economic conditions, shaped by what the people want, and directed by the nation's development plan. All of these are distilled into this objective: to promote growth that all of our people can benefit from, that results in the improvement of their lives and secures the future of generations to come. In doing this, I am also guided by the laws passed by Congress, the same Congress wherein whose halls I spent 29 years in forging fiscal and economic reforms we were in dire need of as a nation. One such measure, as many of you are well aware of, may have saved the economy from collapse, but did hurt me politically in the elections of 2007. It is a price I paid for doing what was right, but not popular, with neither rancor nor regret. Speaking of laws, the last one that I cast my vote on as member of the House of Representatives in December last year was the national budget for this year. I earlier explained that the proposed 2024 national budget of 5.767 trillion translates to an average daily spending of 15.8 billion, but only 11.7 billion of which is supported by revenues, leaving a 4 billion hole which must be plugged by debt. Gagasta ng 15.8 billion bawat araw, ngunit 11.7 billion lang ang kayang pondohan ng buwis. Kaya may 4 na bilyon na dapat utangin kada 24 na oras, was how I framed our daily fiscal conundrum. But it never crossed my mind at that time that 1 month later, I will be heading the department that must raise the 15.8 billion daily from tax collected and money borrowed. Never did it occur to me then that I will soon be conscripted to stand watch over the nation's revenues counter and debt meter. So at dusk, when the sun sets over Manila Bay, a spectacle we see from our offices, I often ask myself, nakakolekta ba tayo ngayon ng 11.7 billion sa araw na ito? As the needs of our growing population outpace revenues, the temptation to inflict taxes is there. But such must take a back seat to growing the economy, plugging tax leaks, improving tax administration, and yes, preventing wasteful expenditures through carefully curated projects that only yield economic gains. Although many of you have taunted me defecting to the other side, I still believe in the adage that I have often said in this building, that the art in collecting taxes is to pluck the largest amount of feathers from a goose with the smallest possible amount of hissing. The revenue measures we have sent to Congress comply with that maxim. They maximize the gains, minimize the pain, institute fairness, and fiscal consolidation. I know that for every tax proposal, your immediate reaction is not of ratification, but of restraint. But I also know that together we can develop strategies to efficiently mobilize fiscal resources and prevent leakages so we can finance growth, manage debt, and protect our people in these challenging times. All these while sustaining investments in infrastructure and human capital development. As to the pressing issue of inflation, we will continue to employ measures that will shield consumers, especially the vulnerable, from the pain of elevated prices. After all, inflation is an unlegislated tax the people should not bear. But in my mind, the best way to inculcate tax obedience is still to promote ease of payment and to show that taxes that are efficiently collected are effectively spent. This covers ODA projects because the people must be told not only where their taxes go, but where their debts, the debts they are paying, also go to. We also agree that the task of reclaiming lost momentum and staging a powerful comeback will be greatly propelled by investment-led growth that creates quality jobs. We will boost investments by reducing the cost of doing business, ease of doing business, improving the regulatory regime, and ending constraints. In the words of the President, replacing red tape with red carpet. But if I may add, without sweeping the unsavory under the rug or trampling rights and rules. Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Commission, while this job requires a finance secretary to be a dealer of hope, he must also be a teller of truth. While this may sound like a campaign sortie spiel, which I know I may never ever deliver in the future, let me assure you that I will perform my task with honesty and hard work. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Before we proceed, the chair acknowledge the presence of Representative Virginel Biron. Well, thank you, Secretary Recto. You have undeniably proven yourself over your years of top caliber public service. And your statement today solidifies this and all the more convinces us of how truly qualified and competent you are. When you sound the fiscal policy is pushed for by numbers man like you, we are confident that we are in good hands. Bawat sentimo ay katumbas ng dugo at pawis ng taong bayan. At napakahalaga na mapakinggan ito ng lubos ng ating bansa. Okay, Majority.
Thank you for your
Vice
kind
Chair
words,
Tuico.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, the House contingent to the Commission on Appointments has unanimously agreed to support the confirmation of our former colleague, Finance Secretary Ralph Gonzalez Recto. We shall raise no questions and interpose no objections with regards to his nomination as Finance Secretary. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat po.
Before that, I would like to acknowledge the presence online, Senator Grace po. Senator
Thank you.
Estrada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. First of all, I have no objection whatsoever to the appointment of our good friend and colleague, former Senator Recto. Nagkasama po kami ni Senator Recto nung sa Senado ng tatlong Kongreso, 13th, 15th, and 16th Congresses, at nakasama rin siya ng aking ito sa Senado ng noong 12th and 13th Congresses. And I am in full support of his confirmation, and I believe that he is the right choice to lead the Department of Finance. And by the way, Mr. Chair, there is a traditional parliamentary courtesy accorded to former colleagues in Congress when they are subjected to confirmation process. By and large, it ensures the appointee a smooth sailing confirmation process at the Commission on Appointments. However, as a member of a collegial body, I can only speak for myself, and I cannot predict the proceedings or prevail upon my fellow CA members in approving the nomination of presidential appointees. Wala ako nakikitang dahilan para hindi maaprubahan ang pagkakatalaga kay Secretary Recto as Finance Secretary. And as a former NEDA chief and chairman of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, and our resident economist in the Senate, he is very qualified for the post and knows the ropes of the job. So if there are no other questions, Mr. Chair,
No. We will get to that. So relax ka lang. Yes, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Assistant Minority Floor Leader, Representative Jose Padiernos. Ayun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. Thank you to our counterparts in the House of Representatives. We likewise thank Senator Estrada. The chair reiterates the tradition and courtesy we extend to former colleagues in the legislature. And I will no longer propound any question bilang respeto at talagang sinasaluduan ko. But of course, merong gustong isa magtanong. Senator Riza, I now recognize you.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. With all due respect sa ating chair at sa aking colleague na si Senator Jinggoy, at nang wala ring dahilan na hindi aprubahan yung ating appointee. Pero tulad nung sinabi ko sa kanila, nung kamakailan bumisita sila sa amin, ang kanyang mga dating kasama dito sa Senado, at sinabi naman niya ay bukas na bukas siya. At dahil din sinabi ng ating chair na mahalagang mapakinggan ng taong bayan yung ating appointee, tulad nung sinimulan na rin gawin sa kanilang opening statement. Meron po akong ilang mga tanong, Mr. Chair. If
Yes,
I can
go ahead,
proceed.
go ahead.
Salamat po. Magandang umaga sa iyo, Sec. Ralph.
Magandang umaga din po, Risa.
Salamat po.
Senator Risa.
Opo. So, Mr. Secretary, pwede ba kayong mag-identify ng 3 halimbawa ng pagkakaiba sa mga priorities nyo bilang DOF Secretary kumpara sa priorities ng predecessor ninyo, si dating Sec. Jokno? Alin sa mga advocacies ninyo dito sa Senado dati ang dala ninyo sa BIR, sa Bureau of Customs, pati na sa DBCC, Mr. Chair?
Palagay ko unang-una, pwede ko sabihin na marami rin kaming pagkatulad. Halimbawa lang na mahalaga, we do not max out the Philippine National Credit Card. Na mahalaga din na pabawasan natin yung debt to GDP ratio ng ating bansa. Siguro ang ilang mga bagay na hindi katulad ay yung posisyon namin halimbawa sa free public college education, dahil para sa akin napakahalaga niyan at dapat dagdagan pa ng pondo para dyan. Pangalawa, halimbawa, yung MUP na alam kong tinatalakay ngayon sa Senado ay sinusuportahan ko yung bill na nasa Senado na kung saan ang chairman nga ay si Senator Jinggoy Estrada, na ang nakapalopo dito ay yung respetuhin natin yung pensyon ng ating mga military dahil ang gobyerno hindi dapat Indian giver, so to speak. At siguro kung babaguhin natin yung pension system ay doon sa mga bago lang na papasok. No? Ang pangatlo siguro ay doon nga sa fiscal deficit, pareho kami na dapat pababa yung deficit ng ating bansa. Ngunit palagay ko hindi dapat masyado steep yung curve, not at the expense of growth. So dapat yung trajectory pababa din, pero hindi masyadong steep, ika nga. Now, with regard to doon naman sa filosofiya ko sa pagbibwis sa BIR at pagkolekta ng customs deed, ay palagay ko hindi nararapat sa panahon natin ngayon na napakaraming bagong buwis. At alam naman natin, malaki pa rin ang tax gap sa BIR at sa customs na pwede naman siguro subukan natin na improve tax administration efficiency dito sa BIR at sa customs. Thank you for your question.
You're welcome, Sec. At maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Maganda rin, marami din kayo nabigay na mga indications kung saan mula sa legislative side, pwede namin suportahan yung mga direksyon ninyo sa department.
Maraming salamat po.
Salamat po. Ngayon po, tungkol sa CREATE Law.
Yes.
A major reason for the move to amend the CREATE Law has been the difficulty encountered by exporters and their direct suppliers in getting their VAT refunds. Your predecessor supposedly believed that this problem of VAT refunds can be sufficiently dealt with directly through changes to the IRR. Pwede ba kayong magpaliwanag at magkomento sa mga pagbabagong iyon sa IRR na ang layunin ay i-address nga itong mga VAT-related challenges? At sa anong extent itong usapin ng VAT refunds para sa locators, usapin lang ng pag-computerize ng proseso, Mr. Chair?
Ulit, maraming salamat sa inyong katanungan. Totoo yan na pwede makatulong yung pag-aayos ng implementing rules, pero palagay ko mas mahalaga maamendahan yung CREATE Law, at yan ngayon ay tinatalakay sa Kongreso at inaasahan ko mapapasayan bago matapos ang buwang ito at dadalhin dito sa Senado yan. At para sa akin, dapat ang mga exporter ay i-accept na lang natin sa VAT, because sa ibang bansa naman sa buong mundo talaga, ang exporter, hindi vatable yan dahil they're competing globally. So dito dapat gawin natin, ilagay na natin sa batas na exempt sila. Nang sa ganun, they will be more competitive globally as well at hindi na tayo magkakaproblema sa usaping VAT refund.
Salamat, Sec. So malinaw, no? Lampas sa pagbabago ng IRRs yung kailangan sa tingin ninyo, amyenda talaga sa batas. And hoping to hear moving forward yung mga yung opinion nyo tungkol sa pag-computerize din ng yung papel na pwedeng gampanan ng pag-computerize ng
Yes.
proseso as complementing amendment to the law.
Yung digitalization, yan ay priority ng ating Pangulo, priority ng Department of Finance yan, at ng buong pamahalaan ngayon. Ganun din sa BIR at sa Customs. No? Ako naniniwala ko, at saka for the ease of doing business, ang mundo nagbabago na, dala nung umpisa ng pandemic, nasanay din ng tao na sa e-commerce, at mas mabuti siguro kung madali magtayo ng negosyo na hindi mo na kailangan, kahit sa computer pa lang, pwede ka nang magbukas ng kumpanya halimbawa sa SEC o di kaya sa DTI at makapagbayad ng buwis. Makakatipid ka pa at hindi ka na makakaabala sa traffic. Mababawasan din siguro yung pollution kung i-digitize natin yung buong gobyerno at mababawasan ang korupsyon, no? At madadagdagan yung efficiency ng ating pamahalaan. So, lahat yan, ako malaking paniniwala ko, sa loob ng 4 na taon, hindi man natin matapos lahat, we will greatly improve the situation.
I hope so too, Sec. Tungkol naman po sa Mandanos ruling, the recalibration of national versus local service obligations in the aftermath of the Mandanos ruling was enunciated in EO 138 of the former president. A successive EO by the president was supposed to postpone the transition to full devolution by an extra 2 years. So that is after the midterm elections. Now, this, depending on where you sit, was either good or bad. The extension allows national government agencies and corporations leeway to continue to spend on services that are listed in the local government code as having been devolved. So EO 138 being in limbo may be bad news for a DOF that wants to create, gaya ng tinatalakay ni Sec kanina, that wants to create fiscal space for many other national level programs like sabihin natin, yung PUV modernization program, yung housing program. Programs that haven't been receiving even 10% of the support that they need to get the programs going. So, paano po babalansehin ni Sec yung pangangailangan maka-achieve ng major fiscal reforms versus yung pagtugon sa mga concerns ng LGUs? Si Sec ba yung magiging DOF secretary na magre-reverse di lang sa create reforms, pero indefinitely iwan na sa freezer yung EO 138, Mr. Chair?
Napakagandang katanungan yan dahil napakahalaga ng role ng ating local government, no? At dahil naturuan ako ng aking asawa, si V, nung siya ay naging mayor ng 9 na taon at naging governor ng lalawigan ng Batangas ng 9 na taon din, natutunan ko na napakahalaga nga, sabi ko, ng role ng local government at saka sa katunayan, sa aking on a practical note, bagamat sinasabi halimbawa ng local government code na ang mga ibang serbisyo tulad ng social services, tulad ng health, ay devolved, agriculture, devolved sa local government unit, the real practice is there is a partnership between the national and local. At hindi totoong tunay na devolved lahat ito mga programang ito o mga powers na to sa lokal na pamahalaan. Halimbawa na lang, agrikultura. Pag tinignan natin, basahin natin ang local government code, ito ay devolved. Pero alam natin, it is centrally planned. At partner lang ang local government kung tutusin natin. Itong nakaraan, halimbawa, itong pandemic, ang health is supposed to be devolved. In Batangas, we have 12 district hospitals that we used to run. No? Nung pandemic, everything was highly centralized. Wala naman choice yung local government. Pag sinabing, kailangan lahat kayo nakamask, hindi pwede pumalag ang local government. So, hindi tunay na devolved lahat yan. In fact, mas maganda na may partnership talaga. No? Social welfare. May mga programa ang local government that complement the national government. Halimbawa, may batas tayo dito na centenarian law. 100,000 binibigay natin pag naging 100 ka na. At ngayon may bago tayo mga bagong pinasa. Ang local government, nagdadagdag din dyan. So again, it is a complementary. No? At kung tutusin natin, mas malaki ang ginagastos ng national government sa social welfare. Halimbawa sa DSWD ngayon, mahigit 270 billion ang pondo ng DSWD para tulungan ang mahigit 12 million families, kalahati ng lahat ng pamilyang Pilipino na tutulungan ng DSWD. Pero yan ay devolved. Yung pera ba, di-devolve sa local government? Hindi rin naman. So sabi ko nga, complementary lahat ito. Now, finally, let me add. Ang huling-huling makaka-recover sa pandemic is the local government unit. Ang national tax allotment na nakuha nila in 2019 ay mababalik pa lang sa kanila by 2025. Kaya kahit na nagkaroon ng Garcia-Mandanas ruling ang Supreme Court na ang internal revenue taxes na nakokolekta ng BOC, particularly VAT at excise, ibinaba mo ngayon sa local government. But ayon sa batas, 3 years preceding. So halimbawa, yung nakolekta noong 2020, na bagsak ang ekonomiya, ibibigay mo sa local government in 2023. Yung nakolekta noong 2021, na bagsak ang ekonomiya, bibigay mo sa local government sa taong 2024. At kung nag-recover ang national government sa koleksyon ng buwis na nakolekta noong 2022, ibibigay sa local government sa 2025. Ergo, yung makakolekta ng local government sa 2025, katumbas lang ng budget nila ng 2019. So on a practical note, it is very difficult to ask the local governments na you give them more responsibility and accountability na ang budget naman nila ay katumbas lang noong 2019. Kaya sabi ko nga, ang pinakahuling magre-recover ay ang local governments sa ating bansa. No? Of course, there are exceptions to those local governments, particularly halimbawa in Metro Manila, na hindi dependent sa IRA or sa national tax allotment. So yun ang pananaw ko pagdating sa bagay na ito.
Salamat, Sec. So mukhang nasa freezer lang nga muna yung EO 138 habang inaasikaso yung sitwasyon natin pambansa, lalo na sa
pinag-aaralan pa rin ang mabuti.
at pinag-aaralan pa. All right, salamat po. Tungkol naman po sa, ito yung huling dalawang tanong ko dito, Mr. Chair. Tungkol naman sa Blue Ribbon investigations. The Blue Ribbon Committee unfortunately did not complete the investigations on the sugar fiasco that happened around this time last year. I'm wondering if the DOF secretary can help find out what really happened. Why the Bureau of Customs allowed sugar traders that did not have import permits when their shipment landed at the Batangas port got their way and were allowed by the Bureau of Customs to come in. To me, this is self-evident, Mr. Secretary. Return to sender dapat ang naging tugon ng BOC. Pero hindi eh. Di ko mang bibig ni dating Sec Jokno na kapag magic ng import permit na non-existent naman nung dumating ang asukal. So, at nangyari din daw ito sa bigas ayon kay dating Senador Panfilo Lacson. What would you have done differently, Mr. Sec, at that time?
For me, I think that for as long as there is a permit at tama ang buwis na binayaran, pwede mong i-release. Pero kung walang permit at walang buwis na tama ang binayaran, dapat hindi natin payagang pumasok. To me, it's as simple as that, no? And one of the first things I did in the office, I think after my first month in office, was to consult with the NGOs in the agriculture sector, no? So that we can find ways to ensure that hindi dumami ang smuggling ng halimbawa ng mga bigas, asukal sa ating bansa. And I think we've been able to get them together with the Bureau of Customs to protect also our revenues, dahil kung ano yung makokolekta natin sa Bureau of Customs, gagastusin din natin para sa mga magsasaka natin. No? Ito yung layunin ng rice clarification law na ang sponsor nandito ngayon, ang principal author, si Senator Cynthia Villar, na napakagandang batas na ngayon napapakinabangan ng ating mga magsasaka, particularly in the rice sector. No? So I think we have to protect our revenues and lalo na walang bagong buwis. And that's why we have to be tough on smuggling.
Salamat, Secretary. At tuling tanong ko po dito, pwede ba tayong mag-usap tungkol sa mga DA, DOF at saka SRA, BOC agreements or even legislation na mapipigilan na mangyari yung katulad niyan ever again? Mr. Chair.
Unfortunately, there is a TRO of some sort with regard to the computerization of the BOC. So we're addressing some of these issues now. Malaking bagay yung digitalization effort, yung single window, national single window. So we're looking at that. We're working closely with the DICT as well. We will try to address the concerns of the Bureau of Customs at yung whatever court cases they have. At kung computerized lahat yan, mababawasan yung discretion. No? And hopefully with that, we can improve the efficiencies of the customs, particularly in agriculture as well.
Salamat, Sec. Mr. Chair, gusto yatang mag-interject ni Cynthia.
Yeah,
Senator Sanchez,
notice that we have passed the anti-agricultural economic sabotage law in the Senate, and they have passed it in the House, and we are just in the BICAM. Medyo mabagal magtawag ng BICAM tong ating House of Representatives. Matagal ko na silang kinukulit doon. Sana mapasanan natin yon kasi maganda yon for the problems that you are discussing. Thank you very much.
Okay, peace. All right.
Salamat.
Senator Risa,
Yes,
again,
in
you're recognized.
addition, I just wanted to add to our response. Aside from we are now introducing also a pre-shipment inspection sa agriculture. Susubukan natin yon. And hopefully that will address also some of the smuggling issues.
All right.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Salamat. Cynthia at Secretary. Meron pa sana akong dalawang tanong, pero on the request of the good chair for brevity, I will forward these couple of questions to the good secretary at aasahan ko na lang ang kanilang dagdag na sagot. Yung isa po ay dagdag na tanong tungkol sa Create Law at yung isa naman ay, well, related, tanong tungkol sa Fiscal Incentives Review Board o yung FIRB at aasahan ko yung kanilang sagot moving forward.
Be rest assured that we will immediately respond to all your queries in the DOF, and you can just Viber or text me. Thank you.
Will do at maraming salamat po, Sec, and best of luck. Mabuhay po. Salamat, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Senator Riza. Before we proceed, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Representative Albert Garcia. Senator Cynthia,
I just want to give my support to the confirmation of Senator Recto, Secretary Recto, who was a former colleague in the Senate and in the House of Representatives of my husband, Senator Villar. Thank you very much.
I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Bato de la Rosa. Okay, thank you, Senator Riza. Mabuti na rin na tinalakay natin ang mga pananaw at plano ng ating dalubhasang kalihim on these matters. Kasing halaga ng landas na ang patutunguhan kung kaya't importanteng nabibigyan linaw kung paano natin makakamit ang ating mga hangarin para sa ating bansa. At in the end, these are more than numbers and figures. Sinasalamin ito ang daang milyong Pilipinong makikinabang sa mga advokasya at programa ng inyong ilalatag at ipapatupad. At that is what matters most, Secretary. We highlight the need to strike the balance, and we stress that the welfare of the people should always be our ultimate priority above all else. Inasmuch as tax is the lifeblood of the government, tangible public service is the lifeline of our people. Okay, we now recognize Congressman Padiernos for his manifestation of support.
Thank you. Bilang suporta po sa aming Vice Chair Gico na hindi na kami magtatanong sa part po ng Kongreso. Ito pa ay manifestation of support sa ating pong Secretary. Nakita naman natin, very much qualified, Mr. Secretary, and good luck na lang. Yun na lang masasabi ko. Bahala ka na sa ating ekonomiya. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Salamat po.
Okay, meron pa bang gustong magtanong or any
Mr.
manifestation
Chair.
of support?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Grace po is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Unang-una, nais ko magpasalamat kay Secretary Recto sapagkat ini-explica niya sa Pilipino ang mga bagay tungkol sa ating ekonomiya para mas maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan na napakahalaga ito. Tanong ko lang, sabi ninyo kailangan natin humiram araw-araw ng 4 na bilyon ba para matugunan ang ating pangangailangan at mapunuan ang kakulangan sa ating kita. Paano po ninyo naiisip na makakakalap tayo ng ganyang halaga o malapit man lang doon para bumaba ang ating debt to GDP ratio?
Magandang tanong yan. Ang mahalaga ay mas malaki yung growth rate ng economy mo than the growth of your debt. So for as long as gastusin mo ng tama yung pondong yan at mas lumago yung ekonomiya mo, then your ability to pay improves. So hindi naman ako nababahala sa kalagayan ng utang ng ating bansa. Sa katunayan, 70% ng utang natin ay utang natin sa ating sarili. 1/3 lang ang utang natin sa foreign exchange. So medyo kaya naman natin. Hindi ako nababahala sa issue ng utang natin sa panahon natin ngayon. Pero ulitin ko lang, ang mahalaga, the growth of the economy should be faster than the growth of your debt.
Okay. Senator Grace? We can't hear you, ma'am. Audio, please. Baka naka-mute ka.
Sa makatuwid, Mr. Chair, ang magandang sinabi dito ng ating secretary, hindi lamang sa pagpapataw ng buwis, kung hindi pagpapalago ng ekonomiya. Ibig sabihin, pagpaparami ng trabaho para magkaroon ng mas maraming kita ang ating mga kababayan at sa pagkakataon na yon ay mas lalong makakabili sila ng kung anong kailangan nila, yun ay makakadagdag ng buwis din para sa ating gobyerno. Ganun po ba yung ibig sabihin din ng ating secretary?
That's correct. Tama po yun. So mahalaga yung growth. Mahalaga yung, lalo na ngayon, we're still in an economic recovery stage. So sa panahon natin ngayon, palagay ko, hindi nararapat na masyadong magpataw tayo ng maraming buwis. Let's concentrate our efforts muna sa tax collection efficiency din.
Thank you very much. Ito naman talaga yung message of support, and gusto ko magpasalamat sa ating mga kababayan. Dapat alam din nila na nung senador si Senator Ralph Recto, isa siya sa talagang nagtulak na magkaroon ng additional funding ang mga bata para sa feeding program. Dahil hindi nga tayo lalago kung ang ating mga anak ay kumakalamang tiyan. Kaya naghanap talaga ng paraan si Senator Recto para mabigyan ng pondo ang National Feeding Program ng DSWD at ng DepEd. Kaya talagang mahalaga po na magkaroon tayo ng mga ganyan na merong puso, hindi lamang para sa mga detalye na hindi nararamdaman ng ating mga kababayan, kundi talagang diretsyo na maiintindihan at mararamdaman ng ating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat po, and I support the nomination and the confirmation of Senator Ralph Recto as Secretary. Thank you.
Many thanks, Senator Grace.
Thank you, Senator Grace. We understand that the Secretary advocates for a roadmap and debt management strategies for our country. Alam kong katuwang niya tayo para mapatupad yan. Whatever may be needed for the legislature, makakaasa po kayo, Secretary. Okay, are there any other members who wish to make manifestations or express their support? Okay, Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All I can say is I know the man, I know his capabilities, therefore I conclude he is the man for the job. Good luck,
He's the one.
Secretary Recto. He is the man, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir. Salamat, Sir Bato.
Okay, wala na tayong naririnig. There being none, no more questions. And we wish to thank our colleagues. Congressman
Abet.
Abet Garcia.
Yes,
You're
Mr. Chair, thank you very much and good morning to our colleagues. Being a part of the House contingent, wala na po kaming itatanong, but I would like to express our manifestation of support sa ating napakahusay na kalihim ng Department of Finance. Tama po yung sinabi ni Senator Grace po, si Secretary Ralph Recto understands his job very well and is able to explain complicated things in simple manner to our people, which is very important because marami sa ating mga kababayan ang maaaring hindi nakakaintindi ng ating ekonomiya. And it's all about economics. Sobrang importante po na naiintindihan ng ating mga mamamayan ito. In fact, before tinatanungan ng mga tao, yung economic growth, kapag palagi nasa front page ng ating pahayagan, importante ba yan? Nakakain ba yan? Marami sa ating mamamayan ang maaring sumagot ng hindi. Because these are mere numbers. But in actuality, Mr. Chair, nakakain po yung economic growth. Dahil ibig sabihin po nun, merong nag-invest, nag-create ng trabaho, may sweldo, at kapag may sweldo, may pagkain sa kapagkainan. And the deep understanding of our soon to be confirmed Secretary of Finance is able to explain that to our people, which is very important so that our people can act accordingly in supporting the growth of our economy. And that is why Secretary Recto has our unqualified support. And good luck to the job, Mr. Secretary. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
you,
Congressman.
Abet Garcia. Salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Abbott. So no more questions or manifestations. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chair, after all the adulations and praises, which I believe are all well taken, I move to recommend to the plenary session of the Commission the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Mr. Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There is a motion to recommend to the plenary session of the commission for the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Mr. Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary of Department of Finance. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the same is hereby approved.
Maraming salamat.
Okay, Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chair, there being no other matters to discuss, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, hearing no objections, the meeting is hereby adjourned.
The 8th plenary session of the Commission Appointments on the second regular session of the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. We will be led in prayer today by our distinguished colleague from the great province of Bataan, no other than Congressman Albert S. Garcia.
Let us rise, bow our heads in reverence, and welcome the divine presence among us. In the sacred name of our Almighty Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, gracious God, we stand in your presence filled with gratitude for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve. Today, as we embark on this plenary session, we seek your divine guidance and enlightenment. May your wisdom be our benchmark and your vision our path as we deliberate and decide on matters of significance. We acknowledge our dependence on your grace, admitting our limitations without your divine providence. We lift up to you today's nominee, set to take on the role of Secretary of the Department of Finance. Endow him with the courage, clarity of mind, and steadfastness necessary to navigate the vital responsibilities of economic stewardship and financial oversight. May your unwavering support, safeguarding, and tender compassion be his constant companion. With hearts united in purpose and spirit, we place our trust in you to lead this commission towards the greater good. We offer these prayers with utmost humility in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang mag-ibig, ganas na silanganan, alak na puso, sa satin mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tulad ka ng mag-ibig, sa aman lulubig, di ka pasisihil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong buka. May dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kisnak ng watangan mo'y tagumpay na nagdinilig. Ang bituin ng araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na luwalhating pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya lahat may mga apit, ang mamatay lang dahil sa'yo.
Majority Leader. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may we now proceed to call the roll of members?
Yes, Secretary, please call the roll of members.
The honorable members of the Commission on Appointments, Mercedes K. Alvarez, Virginel G. Biron, Alan Peter Compañero S. Cayetano, Ronald Bato de la Rosa, Francis Chis G. Escudero, Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada, Albert S. Garcia, Christopher Bong Tigo,
Present always.
Ramon N. Guico Jr., Risa Ontiveros, Lauren Legarda, Roy M. Loyola, Oscar Oka G. Malapitan, Rodante D. Marcoleta, Lani Mercado Revilla, Jose Gay G. Padiernos, Johnny T. Pimentel, Grace Poe, Ramon Bong Revilla Jr., Jordine Jesus M. Romualdo, Rafi T. Tulfo, Luis Raymond L. Ray F. Villafuerte Jr., Joel Villanueva, Cynthia A. Villar. The chairperson is present.
With 18 members present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chair, I move that we defer the consideration and approval of the journal of the plenary session held on 12 March 2024 until the next plenary session of the Commission on Appointments.
There being no objection to the motion, motion is approved.
Mr. Chair, may we now proceed to consider the recommendation of the Committee on Finance on the ad interim appointment of Mr. Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary, Department of Finance.
There being no objection, the motion is approved. The confirmation is in order.
Mr. Chair, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Finance, the good gentleman from the province of Cavite, Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr.
Our distinguished colleague from the great province of Cavite, no other than Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. is recognized.
Honorable members of this body, my dear colleagues and distinguished guests, I rise to sponsor the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of a highly esteemed public servant, man of exemplary dedication, and an epitome of brilliance and unwavering commitment to public service. It is a true privilege to highlight the competence and excellence of someone I have had the honor to work with as a colleague in the legislature, whose voice have proved invaluable in the crafting of vital fiscal measures. I take pride in endorsing a distinguished individual who possesses the expertise and commitment needed to lead our nation towards economic prosperity and fiscal stability. With him at the helm, we know that the Department of Finance is in good hands. Secretary Recto is regarded for being sharp as a tack and smart as a whip. Saksi po ang bulwagang ito sa tikas ng kanyang isipan. Through his great attention to details and relentless pursuit of the greater good, many of the measures that this institution has produced have been cultivated and refined for the benefit of the nation. Ngunit bago pa man po makapagpakitang gilas dito sa Senado si Secretary Ralph, ipinamalas niya na po ang talas ng kanyang isipan nung siya'y bagito pa lamang at pinakabatang miyembro ng Kamara de Representante noong ikasyam ng Kongreso. Despite having prominent surname that commanded reverence in his fledgling years, the young Ralph Recto was able to step out of the shadow of his renowned family name and carve his own path in the political arena that is so distinctly his. One could only imagine the immense pressures that come along with having descended from the same line as the great academician, Claro M. Recto. Sa kabila nito, ipinakita niya na hindi ito hadlang upang makalikha ng sariling marka sa daigdig, naliban sa anino ng kanyang mga ninuno. In his first 3 terms as a member of the House of Representatives from 1992 to 2001, he focused on economic reforms and poverty alleviation. Napatunayan niya ang kanyang sarili sa mga kababayan nating nagluklok sa kanya sa pwesto, kung kaya't sinuklian nila ito ng hindi pa noong nasasaksihan na mainit na pagtanggap at suporta sa kanyang distrito. He made history in the 4th District of Batangas by being able to win in all precincts, barangays, and municipalities both in the 1995 and 1998 elections. 78% ng boto, 98%, Mr. President, ng kalakhan ng kanyang distrito ang inani niyang bunga na rin ng kanyang kadalubhasaan. He was eventually elected the youngest senator of the 12th Congress at the age of 37, where he expertly maneuvered his maiden term as he chaired the Committee on Ways and Means, which is traditionally assigned to senior senators, as well as the Committee on Trade and Industry. Eventually, our paths crossed in 2004 in this same halls, in this representation's inaugural journey in legislation. Although we have had many encounters outside the Senate, it was only when we became colleagues here that I have come to more profoundly know and understand Ralph Recto. Matagal na po natin siya nakasama dito sa Senado. 4 na kongreso. Kung kaya't ganun po kalalim ang aming pinagsamahan at isa po ako sa buhay na saksi ng kanyang angking husay at galing. Sa katunayan nga, kilala po siya dito sa Senado bilang numbers genius. At hindi ito may pagkakaila ng kanyang dekada at kahangahangang track record ng pagsisilbi sa bayan. Sa madaling salita, walang matigas na suliranin sa tinik na senador. His tenure in the legislative branch has truly been marked by a relentless pursuit of policies aimed at promoting sustainable economic growth, fostering inclusive development, and ensuring fiscal responsibility. In the years he has spent in these hallowed halls, he was always the expert we would consult on the matters of public finance, our resident economists who can crunch numbers and analytic data. When he speaks, we know he is backed by data and that his arguments always have a solid foundation on which they stand. There is no denying that our country continues to stand on economic gains reached through his efforts. And we are certain that these are exactly what he will bring to the table as Secretary of the Department of Finance. Without a doubt, his capability can also greatly contribute to the executive branch. His pragmatic insights, forward-thinking approach, and ability to collaborate with stakeholders will surely serve as necessary tools to effectively manage our country's fiscal landscape. Having had the opportunity to also serve briefly as chief of the National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA, during the Arroyo administration in 2008, he is formidably armed to take on the role now as the Finance Secretary. Indeed, Secretary Recto's extensive experience in governance, profound perception of economic policies, and innovative approach to financial management make him the ideal Finance Secretary equipped to steer our nation's financial affairs towards the right direction. This has already been proven by his swift actions immediately after his appointment last January. And he was quick to bear his key plans and strategies, which include sustaining the momentum in pushing for reforms in order to optimize and maximize gains, shielding consumers from the impact of inflation, promoting public-private partnerships, and advocating for the passage of the administration-endorsed tax reforms. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, it is an honor to endorse this to the Commission to give its consent on the confirmation of Ralph G. Recto as the Secretary of the Department of Finance. Likewise, wholeheartedly urge our esteemed colleagues to support the confirmation of the appointment of the Honorable Ralph Recto as Secretary of the Department of Finance, let us come together to embark on a journey towards a brighter future for every Filipino, entrusting our nation's economic future to capable, competent, and credible hands. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Senator Bong Revilla. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chair, before we act on the motion, there are a number of the members of this commission who would like to deliver their seconding speeches. I move to recognize Senator Cynthia Villar.
Our distinguished colleague from the city of Las Piñas, no other than Senator Cynthia Villar, is recognized.
Mr. Chair, distinguished colleagues in the Commission on Appointments, I'm honored to co-sponsor the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Honorable Ralph G. Recto as Secretary of the Department of Finance today. Honorable Recto is a respected public servant, a stalwart of the Nacionalista Party in the province of Batangas, and formerly an esteemed colleague in the Senate. Secretary Rector's career over the past 3 decades showcases his strong dedication to the Filipino people and the country. His experience in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, totaling 3 decades, has deeply influenced our government policies. Particularly noteworthy was his tenure as NEDA chief in 2008, during which he spearheaded the Economic Resiliency Plan and the loading of Economic Acceleration Plan, which was instrumental in maintaining our economic stability during the global financial crisis. His legislative expertise, especially in economic policy and fiscal matters, has rightfully earned him the reputation of being the legislature's resident numbers genius. His efforts have led to significant reforms, which, to mention a few, include the TRAIN Act and the Universal Health Care Act. Additionally, his involvement in the Rice Tariffication Act, which I defended as chair of the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food, has significantly contributed to our nation's sustainable development and inclusive growth. As a grandson of the eminent Don Claro M. Recto, Secretary Ralph Recto carries forward a legacy of intellectual strength and national pride. His leadership in Batangas reflects the Recto family's enduring devotion to public service, which contributes to the province's dynamism and resilience. As he steps up into his new role as Secretary of Finance, we look forward to see Secretary Recto apply his extensive experience and understanding of the nation needs to foster economic policies that will benefit every Filipino. His appointment promises a continuation of strong economic management and strategic initiatives aimed to uplift the lives of our citizens and ensure a stable and prosperous future for our country. With confidence in his visionary approach, intelligence, vast experience, and determination, I wholeheartedly second the motion for confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Honorable Ralph G. Recto as Secretary of the Department of Finance. I so move, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much to distinguished colleague, Senator Villar.
Mr. Chair, I move to recognize Senator Grace Po.
A distinguished colleague from the province of Iloilo, Pangasinan, and the city of San Juan, Senator Grace Po is recognized.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, months before the nominee was forcibly recruited to do hard labor in the cabinet, he said that to finance the national budget for 2024, the Secretary of Finance must collect billions every day. And like a self-fulfilling prophecy, that is exactly what he must do now. So that when he finally said yes to what is perhaps one of the longest courtships made by a president to a cabinet recruit, his friends, or at least his true friends, were at a loss whether to express their congratulations or condolences, as he would say. But the good thing about him is that faced with such a Herculean task has not turned him into an taxicated official. And it shows in the policies and pronouncement. He has so far made it in the 2 months that he's been in office. With him at the helm of the DOF, we can be assured that despite fiscal pressures, more taxes will not be the first option of this government, but its last resort. So, Secretary Ralph, we apply the rector rule in treating the revenue measures you are pressing us to approve. Seeing him in plenary today brought back memories. Happy because he's fun to be around with, and a little sad because friendship does not get in the way on how long he interpolates you. It was a throwback to the time when to pass a bill, you have to pass through, ram through, or outflank the recto blockade or a Drilon stone wall. His interpolations were intellectual marathons, the preliminary version of telenovelas, even lasting months. But despite his obstinacy, it would be hard not to respect this charming fellow. Because in the end, bills were tested for their practicality, purged of mistakes. The provisions become sharper, it forces you to study harder, and makes you a better legislator. So, Secretary Ralph, I hope you will be able to do what you have described as an SOF's prime responsibility, because if you falter, the entire government can falter. Your job is not just about translating campaign promises into government projects, of turning rhetoric into reality. It is about unlocking the full potential of a nation rich in resources, of financing the dreams of its talented people, of investing in a future that generations after us can proudly inherit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. Well said.
Mr. Chair, I move to recognize Senator Christopher Bongo for his seconding speech.
Our distinguished colleague from the provinces of Batangas and Davao City, no other than Senator Christopher Bongo.
Mr. Chair, distinguished members of this commission, a pleasant day to all of you. I rise to second the motion to confirm the ad interim appointment of my fellow Batangueño, Secretary Ralph Recto, and former colleague in the 18th Congress as Secretary of the Department of Finance. Tagal ko na pong kilala si Senator Ralph noon, about 15 years ago. At isa po sa ating mga hinahangaan nito na senador. At hindi ko po malilimutan ito dahil marami pong mga kalyeng recto kahit saan po, sa Davao, dito po sa Maynila. At parang kamag-anak na rin po kami kahit na napakarami pong recto sa buong bansa. Mas marami pong go. Pagpunta mo sa kanto, kita mo yung traffic light, puro go yun. I faithfully place my full trust and confidence to Secretary Recto, as he is highly qualified to perform the duties and responsibilities that accompany his post. With his impressive track record, extensive experience, and mastery in the field of economics, he has earned the title of resident economist both in Congress and in the Senate. I have no doubt that he will definitely bring meaningful and genuine reforms, which will surely benefit the department. Prior to joining the cabinet, he has been a respected member of the Senate as Senate President pro tempore, and in the Congress as Deputy House Speaker, which he has made his mark as a seasoned and distinguished legislator. Guro nga po ang tawag sa kanya. Secretary Recto, talagang nire-respeto po ito. Among the major laws he authored were the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion Act, TRAIN. Priority po yan ni Secretary Dominguez. The Universal Healthcare Act, the Rice Tarification Act, the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018, the General Tax Amnesty, the renationalization of excise tax on automobiles, and the Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act, among others. Because of his proficiency and wise decision-making in many aspects of Economics. He was then appointed to the Executive Department as NEDA Secretary. As the NEDA Chief, he played an instrumental role in developing and overseeing the government's Economic Resiliency Plan, ERP. As the incoming Finance Chief, I am fully confident that Secretary Recto will push for genuine and valuable reforms in the department, particularly in prioritizing the needs of our people and implementing financial reforms which are aimed to address the present challenges of the modern times. Having said this, it is my firm conviction that the financial sector of the country will be effectively attended to under the guidance and leadership of Secretary Recto through proper implementation of financial reforms and policies which ensures sustainability of government expenditure. Given the complexities inherent in the country's finance sector, without a doubt, Secretary Recto is the right man to lead this important department. Sec Recto, on a personal note, I remember you telling me during your valedictory speech in the Senate plenary in 2022 as an outgoing senator, you said, "Tubong, your moonlighting days as a presidential aide is over. Release your freedom, but never give up on your bisyo na magserbisyo." Alam ko, Sir Secretary Recto, alam ko, may bisyo ka din. This time, I wish to impart to you a similar advice. To my dear friend and kababayan, and one of our idols, Secretary Ralph, your days in Congress and in the Senate is temporarily over. Temporary lang po yan, sir. Alam kong marami ka pang may ambag. Relish this new opportunity to serve the country, but never stop fighting for the welfare of the Filipino people. Patuloy mo yung ipaglaban po ang pamilyang Pilipino. Please lang po, please, make sure po na magamit po ang pera ng taong bayan para po sa mga mahirap. With that, I would like to reiterate my full support for the confirmation of Secretary Ralph Recto as Secretary of the Department of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Bongo. Well said. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, kahit na po sa West Philippine Sea, meron pang Recto Bank.
Tama. Recto Bank.
Mr.
Tama.
Mr. Chair, I move to recognize Senator Bato de la Rosa for his seconding speech.
Our distinguished colleague from the provinces of Davao del Sur as well as Bohol, our Resident General, Senator Bato de la Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is with great honor that I express my heartfelt congratulations and warm support for Secretary Ralph Gonzales Recto of the Department of Finance. Coming from the distinguished Recto clan of Batangas, Secretary Ralph G. Recto is a welcome addition to the Marcos administration for his in-depth knowledge on economic reforms, which will definitely benefit our country in its quest for steady progress. I am truly honored to have worked with then Senator Recto in the Senate as our Senate President pro tempore. His brilliant achievements on legislation and policymaking have consistently reflected his commitment to fiscal responsibility and sustainable development. As Secretary of Finance, I am confident that Secretary Recto will bring a fresh perspective and innovative solutions to address the country's post-pandemic economic challenges. His vision for growth, keen observation, and his strategic and intellectual approach to economic policies will undoubtedly steer this nation toward greater prosperity and financial stability. Under his guidance and competent leadership, the Department of Finance will continue to uphold its mission of fostering economic growth, making the Philippines more globally competitive in the field of international economics. Ang buong Batanggenyo at maharlikang ang dugong Batanggenyo at maharlikang Pilipino ang nananalaytay sa ating kapitagang kalihim ng kagawaran ng pananalapi. Taglay niya ang angking talino na gagabay sa ating bansa tungo sa masaganang bukas para sa mga darating pang henerasyon. With great exultation, I congratulate Secretary Recto for his well-deserved achievement and thank him for his unwavering commitment for our country and people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Maraming salamat, Senator Bato de la Rosa. Maraming salamat.
Mr. Chair, I move to recognize Senator Joel Villanueva for his seconding speech.
Our distinguished colleague from the great province of Bulacan, Senator Joel Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. It is my great honor and privilege to support and co-sponsor the appointment of my senior brother, my boss, my idol, former Senator, Senate President Pro Tempore, Ralph Recto, to the position of Secretary of the Department of Finance. Mr. President, Senator Recto has been in public service for 32 years. He was elected to the House of Representatives in 1992 at 28 years old. And that is why it has always been a great pleasure, Mr. President, to be affiliated with him. Because I remember the first time I met him, he made mention that he was the Benjamin of the House. And few Congresses later, that's 9th Congress, in the 12th Congress, this representation became the Benjamin of the House. Mr. President, he is also a senior brother, fraternity brother of this representation together with Congressman Abet Garcia. Nowadays, Mr. President, brotherhood is somehow, some people are saying, is no longer significant, Mr. President. But for Ralph Recto, Mr. President, he's not just a friend. He is a real brother, not only to every Triskelions in the four corners of this world, not just of this country, but of this world, but to every Juan and Juana de la Cruz. Mr. President, Secretary Recto has served in various positions in the government, as a congressman, as a senator, as secretary of NEDA, and now as secretary of the Department of Finance. Secretary Recto was our resident numbers guy. I think everyone knows that, Mr. President, in this August chamber. We describe him, Mr. President, as the visionary economist. And tama po yung sinabi ni Senator Grace, kung ikaw ay naging senador at dumaan ka sa scrutiny ni Senator Ralph Recto, okay ka na. Ibig sabihin, pwede mo nang lampasan ang mga iba pang pagdadaanan mo if you defend a particular measure. Mr. President, no appropriations, alam po natin lahat, no appropriations or tax measure passed without the scrutiny of this nominee, Mr. President, especially here in the Senate. May kasabihan nga po, may House of Representatives, tapos may Senado, House of the Senate, at meron pong pangatlong house, House of Recto. Mr. President, we have nothing but great things to say about our dear friend, colleague, brother, Secretary Ralph Recto. As he takes the lead as the Secretary of Finance, we look forward to working alongside with him to promote the sound and efficient management of the country's financial resources. We are also eager to make positive headway with the department in further aligning our economic policies to create and generate more quality jobs and livelihood opportunities for our fellow Filipinos. This is in line with the recent signing yesterday, Mr. President, of the implementing rules and regulations of the Republic Act number 11962 or the Trabaho para sa Bayan Act. I was here this morning, Mr. President, and my staff asked me if I would be interested in asking questions in the committee hearing of the ad interim appointment of Secretary Ralph Recto. I replied, Mr. President, by saying it would be awkward, if not rude on my part, to ask the guru of gurus, my mentor, my senior brad, my idol. And so I told my staff, no one deserves that post in the Department of Finance more than the great Ralph Recto. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo. Congratulations sa ating senior brother, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. Maraming salamat.
Mr. Chair, may we now recognize Senator Lauren Legarda for her seconding speech.
Our distinguished colleague from the provinces of Antique,
Laguna, in the city of
the
Malabon.
city of Malabon,
And
Laguna.
Batangas.
That's correct. And Batangas, of course. Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. It is with distinct honor and privilege that I co-sponsor the ad interim appointment of Secretary Ralph Recto as a head of the Department of Finance. Having the opportunity to work closely with Senator Ralph Recto, Secretary Recto, for 2 consecutive terms in the Philippine Senate during the 16th and 17th Congress, I can attest to his unmatched dedication to public service and his remarkable wisdom. Together, we've championed laws aimed at uplifting the lives of our fellow Filipinos, from the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act to the amended version of the Magna Carta for persons with disability, and even the Go Negosyo Act. And during my tenure during the pandemic as a deputy speaker in the House of Representatives, and he was serving as a Senate President pro tempore, a position I occupy now, we both pushed for the passage of key legislation such as the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, the COVID-19 vaccination program, the Financial Institution Strategic Transfer Act, and many more. Each piece of legislation bears the mark of collaborative efforts born out of countless debates, brainstorming sessions, and a shared commitment to making a difference. It's not just about the laws we've passed, it's about the camaraderie we also have forged. Still remember our dynamic discussions, both in the session hall and in committee hearings, where our focus was not solely on politics, but on finding the best solutions for our country. His credentials speak volumes. Former Senate President pro tempore, Minority Leader, Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, Director General of NEDA, each role a testament to his depth of experience and leadership skills. While serving as a NEDA chief, Secretary Recto led efforts to bolster the Philippine economy by crafting the Economic Resiliency Plan, ERP, and subsequently proposed the Reloading Economic Acceleration Plan, REAP, to maintain progress. He also advocated for transparent oil pricing and enhanced efficiency in government project implementation. He completed a leadership course at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, holds a bachelor's degree in commerce, major in business management from De La Salle University, and holds units in both University of Asia and the Pacific, I believe, master's degree in both in UP and in UAP. But beyond the titles and the recognitions, Secretary Senator Ralph is a man of integrity and unparalleled work ethic and knowledge. His commitment to inclusive growth, transparent governance, and poverty alleviation has shaped his career as a public servant. And in confirming the ad interim appointment of Ralph Recto as a head of the Department of Finance, we are not just electing a capable leader, we are entrusting the future of our nation's economy to someone who has a keen understanding of economic policies and has a proven track record in crafting legislation that fosters sustainable and inclusive growth. On a personal note, I've known and I am, I hope, considered a friend of the family of Ralph, I call him Ralph, since he was in his early 20s. I believe that among all the senators present here today and the congressmen, when I was very, very young, way before politics, and he was very young as well, we were already friends. He has been very helpful since then in all my political battles. I'm very grateful to him and the Batangueños for always making me #1 senator there. And even as a colleague in the Senate, he would teach me when I was a newbie on my 3rd term, but chairman of the Finance Committee. And he would shepherd the process, so to speak, and explain to me the importance of the budgetary process and teach me the programs of government then, even if I am more senior in terms of tenure in the Senate. That is how generous he is in sharing his wisdom, his knowledge, in mentoring. The way he mentored an outstanding local government official in the person of his dear beloved wife, Governor Vilma Santos Recto. And she says it herself, that she could not be where she is. And the knowledge she has, aside from her innate knowledge, is due to her husband,
Ralph Recto. Si Ralph po ay hindi maramot sa kanyang kaalaman. Siya ay nagtuturo sa mga baguhan at hindi po nag-aatubiling magturo sa mas konti lang nakakatanda o nakakauna sa kanya sa Senado. Malaking tulong po siya nung ako'y chairman ng Committee on Finance, bagamat ako'y pangatlong termino ay inakay niya ako at sinabi niya kung paano gawin ang budget sa maayos na paraan. Kaya sa pagkakataong ito, ako po ay nagagalak na tulungan ang aking matagal ng kaibigan mula po noong 1980s nung kami batang-bata pa po at natutuwa po ako na siya ngayon ay magiging sekretaryo ng Department of Finance. Mr. Chairman, I therefore join the chorus of voices here to sponsor and recommend the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of this honorable Batanggenyo, the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez Recto, as Secretary of Finance.
Good, thank you very much, our dear colleague. There's a phone-in question. Someone in the audience is asking if he courted you during your younger years, when he was still single. Yeah.
Something.
Okay, Majority Leader, she can refuse to answer that, no problem. Please proceed, Majority Leader.
Mr. Chair, I move to recognize Senator Rafi Tulfo.
Our distinguished colleague from the province of Davao and Isabela, Senator Rafi Tulfo, is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, good morning. The Department of Finance is tasked to ensure funding of critical government programs that promote the general welfare of our people. While I'm not an expert on fiscal policies, this much I know. The job of the Secretary of Finance must be given to someone who the people can trust. Yung sisiguraduhin na ang dapat makolekta ay nakokolekta. Yung dapat paglaanan ng pera ay napaglalaanan ng pera. At yung handa kang sagutin tungkol sa lahat ng lumalabas na pera sa kaban ng bayan. I have very high standards for this, Mr. Chair. Secretary Recto, while I do not personally know you, looking at your background as a public servant, particularly your time here in the Senate, you definitely have the credentials to understand and perform the functions required of the department. But what is crucial to me is your dedication to the Filipino people. At napakarami ko na pong nakausap na personal kang kilala, and they have only good words for you. At kanina-kanina lamang, narinig po natin si Senator Loren Legarda, all praise sa iyo. Abot langit ang kanyang paghanga sa iyo. Ganon din po kami lahat dito ngayon. So therefore, to make it short and sweet, I give my full support to the confirmation of Honorable Secretary Recto for the welfare of the Filipino people. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat, Senator Tulfo. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chair, I move to recognize Congressman Kiko for his seconding speech.
Our distinguished co-chair of the commission, no other than Congressman Monching Guico from the great province of Pangasinan, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, esteemed colleagues of the Commission on Appointments. Well, I told to Kong Dandy Marcolita na unahin mo na lahat yung mga senador. Sabi ko, di balik kami mga congressmen, mahuli na lang. At sa nakikita ko, well, matagal na rin na nakatayo si Secretary Recto, kaya medyo iksyan ko na lang ito. I rise to second the motion to appoint Secretary Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary of the Department of Finance. Secretary Recto's commitment to transparency, accountability, and inclusive economic development is commendable. In these challenging times, we need a leader like Secretary Recto who can navigate the complexities of our economic landscape with agility and foresight. His track record and dedication make him the perfect choice to lead the Department of Finance. Therefore, I wholeheartedly second the motion for his appointment, confident in his ability to manage our government resources in pursuit of a better economy. Thank you and good afternoon.
Maraming salamat, Co-Chair.
Mr. Chair, like what Vice Chair Gico said, we have noticed that Secretary Ralph Recto has been struggling to maintain his posture for 1 hour already. And so the rest of the House contingent, including this representation, Representatives Johnny Pimentel, Virginel G. Biron, Lani Mercado Revilla, Mercedes K. Alvarez, Albert Garcia, GP Padiernos, and my good friend Senator Jingo Estrada graciously wish to submit our seconding speech in writing to be incorporated in the journal of today's session,
Also, Congressman Loyola.
including Congressman Roy Loyola for the record, Mr. Chair. I so move, Mr. Chair.
We take note of the motion of the majority leaders.
Mr. Chair, may we reiterate the earlier motion to the committee chairperson Senator Bong Revilla Jr. for the commission to confirm the ad interim appointment of Mr. Ralph Gonzalez Recto as Secretary, Department of Finance. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Before
Mr. Chair,
yes.
on the part of the minority, we
Congressman
fully support the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Secretary Ralph Recto for the Secretary of Department of Finance.
Thank you very much. Before I act on the motion, I would be remiss as a dear friend to just say a few words, Majority Leader, about my colleague, my former colleague, and mentor, Senator Ralph Recto. It is my great pleasure to stand here before you all today to sponsor and support the ad interim appointment of a dear friend, a true patriot, and former Senator Ralph Recto to the position of the Secretary of Finance. When he was in the Senate, Secretary Ralph was our resident numbers guy, not only because he was brilliant at crunching the numbers, but more importantly, because he could immediately see the big picture. He would be our go-to advisor on the economy, on taxes, and even in life, where he would teach us how to make our wives happy wives. Remember, he always tells me, remember, Migs, happy wife is a happy life. Kidding aside, this is what we need from our Secretary of Finance. Someone who has the mind for the numbers, but whose heart is firmly set to uplift the lives of our people. Someone who will work not only towards the upward trajectory of our GDP, of our economy, but also ensure that whatever growth rate we achieve as a nation will be felt by our lower income and marginalized sectors as well, through job creation, lower inflation, and a more stable economic environment. I'm confident that Secretary Ralph Recto's extensive experiences as a legislator, and he has passed so many laws, too many to state here, to take us hours to just discuss the legislation that he has helped pass or he has sponsored himself. And his time as NEDA chief have prepared him well for this demanding position. To my dear friend, we in the Senate are very proud of you. And we know that you will do a great job for our country. And we support your confirmation. So without further ado, there being no objection to the motion of the Majority Leader, seconded by almost all members of this chamber, this Commission on Appointments, we hereby confirm the ad interim appointment of Secretary Ralph G. Recto as Secretary of the Department of Finance. Congratulations, Your Honor. Majority Leader?
Mr. Chair, there being no other matters to discuss, I move to adjourn.
We will just have a picture taking, a reminder to all with our mentor, Senator Ralph Recto, or Secretary Ralph Recto after this. There being no objection to the motion, the session is hereby adjourned.